Hello everybody, Drew here for Drewdat Entertainment and from Drewdat Games, here with episode 8, I believe. No, episode 7 of Breaking Rocks. I was getting a little ahead of myself. On today's episode of this series of Breaking Rocks, we're going to be talking about the Bucks won the NBA title, and we'll get into that. The U.S. women's soccer team bend the knee for the national anthem and then proceed to lose to Sweden 3-0. Facebook supposedly to allow you-know-who back on Facebook in about 6 months, and we'll get into that and what I think is actually going on there. One of the devs from Insomniac Games quit, who was the maker of the Ratchet and Clank series, for the design of the female lead character in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And we'll get into that. Also, the Olympics ratings are down lower than they've ever been since like 1988. And we'll get into that. A gymnast from Costa Rica violates the IOC's protesting rule, and we'll get into that. Some woke states are banning shipments of gaming PCs, and we'll get into that as well. But with all that being said, joining me is, as usual, my younger brother, Desert Nord. Hey, bro.
Hey there.
So, anything new on your end when it comes to woke bullshit?
Well, there's usually a lot. It's kind of hard to sum up everything.
Anything that jumps out to you to talk about?
Well, the biggest thing is obviously the Olympics right now.
Yeah. But, speaking of sports, the Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA title over the Phoenix Suns.
Yep.
And I assume, and I believe you were watching some of it, right?
Yeah, we got to see Game 5, which was probably the best game, but they lost that game sadly. And it's kind of seemed like it was over when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then they lost Game 6, and then it was really over.
Yeah. I said before that Game 6 that I've seen bigger comebacks, but the Phoenix Suns were not capable of it, so.
Yeah.
On the upside, one of the star players of the Milwaukee Bucks did slam the woke bullshit and all these fake woke athletes who are protesting everything. So I'm kind of happy with the Bucks being the NBA champions now.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I didn't even really want to root for anybody.
Yeah, you just wanted to enjoy the game, and I would have wanted to.
Well, I didn't. Well, I didn't even care about that. It was, the circumstances.
Yeah.
Our sister wanted to watch it, so.
Yeah.
We, did our best.
Yeah.
But I don't like the NBA.
No do I. I in fact have not been an NBA fan on any basis since Jordan left the Bulls, and that was a long fucking time ago.
Yeah, I just I liked basketball as a game. I've always liked basketball video games.
Yeah, same here.
And I've always liked the sport.
Mm-hmm.
But I hate the NBA.
Indeed. That's kind of where I'm at with the NFL right now, too, as well as Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
I want to
NFL's
care.
NFL's gone completely off the plot.
Yeah. To the point where...
And the MLB isn't far behind.
To the point where I think it's the New York Times that I saw earlier today that actually called out the NFL for their white and black national anthems that they're going to be doing, saying that this isn't unifying, this is divisive as hell. And that's from the New York Times.
Uh-huh.
Even the left.
Well, broken clocks.
Yeah. Even the left is going, okay, this sounds more like just straight up 1950s or 40s.
It's the great irony of wokeism is that it ends up looking exactly like actual racism.
Like like the segregation that was fought and beaten back before. Well, now it's coming back again.
Yeah, no, it's back, and this time it's against racism. Yeah, okay.
As they claim.
Supposedly.
Speaking of against racism, the U.S. women's soccer team take a knee to the national anthem, and then lose to Sweden 3-0 in the pre-Olympic trials.
Yeah.
Who in the fuck gives a fuck about Team USA anymore?
Well, there's a strong inclination to want to.
Yeah.
But not when half the team essentially is up there despising the country they're representing the whole games.
This is where I'm at with Team
Having no pride whatsoever in the team they're representing.
This is where I'm at with the Olympics. I don't care to watch it because of how woke the fucking IOC has gotten. And by the way, go fuck yourself. You're fucking pieces of shit, IOC. You said that you were going to stand up to this. Well, you're part of it now, motherfucker, so go fuck yourself.
Yeah, well, that's because the Japanese culture that the host has is very anti-wokeism. But the IOC has never been anti-woke themselves.
Yeah.
They were just trying to appease the Tokyo crowd.
Which, how in the fuck does that statement make any sense? You're using wokeism to try to please anti-woke people?
No, that's no, bro. The whole promise to try and tamp down on the wokeism was to try and make the Japanese crowd happy. Otherwise, the IOC would have never cared. If they were hosting this in any American city, it would have just been go for it. It would have just been an absolute woke fest the whole time.
Yet they claim that they're trying to stamp it out, but yet
they're not. They just want the Japanese crowd to think they are.
And if I know the Japanese people, they're smart. They're as smart as they look.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the trouble though is
they're not going to believe any of this fucking bullshit.
The trouble with it, bro, is that polite society doesn't get outraged immediately. The people that get outraged immediately are the woke crowd. So naturally, going woke is really easy because that crowd's the outrage crowd. The anti-woke crowd is the crowd that doesn't get mad easily. They have to be pushed.
Yeah. And we've been pushed for a long time, so.
Oh yeah, well, us in America, we've been pushed the crap out of.
Yeah.
But the Japanese crowd hasn't been pushed to be woke. Their culture is anti-woke. Or just unwoke, we'll say.
We've been pushed to a point where a line from Star Wars from Mace Windu makes a lot of sense to be said right now. Like he said in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi. The dark side of the Force surrounds the Chancellor. In this case, I sense a plot to destroy the United States of America. The dark side of the Force surrounds our government.
Oh, it's inside the government.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's not just around it. It's around it, in it, on it, all over it. It is it.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know? That's like trying to hope that Emperor Palpatine rejoins the Jedi or something. It's not going to happen.
Either way.
The U.S. federal government is never going to stop being a problem for the American people at this point until they are eliminated. But to say that is, of course, over the line for some people.
Yeah.
But in any case, the IOC is not anti-woke whatsoever. They just wanted to keep their contract for their location in Tokyo. And the Tokyo government doesn't want anything to do with wokeism.
Yeah. Which I agree
so they
with
had to
Tokyo.
do a little bit of appeasement by adding into it. But they don't really want to stop any of the wokeism on the stands. They love it when that stuff happens.
Yeah, and the people watching don't, which is why we'll get into it in a few minutes.
This was just a way for them to convince themselves they were being rebels, which is an emotion they love feeling. But they don't get to feel it very often because everyone's woke.
Yeah.
What are you rebelling against when the majority of corporations and governmental institutions and Twitter and the public are all woke anyway? What are you rebelling against?
And as you mentioned, Twitter. Speaking of social media, and the gatekeeper of misinformation for the government, Facebook, to allow you know who, Orange Man Bad, back on Facebook in about 6 months, supposedly. And my note here is, I think this is a stunt just to get people who support him banned off of social media.
Yeah, well, they would have loved to do that, but they know it's millions, so.
And what's...
but they also are doing this whole considering taking it back because they don't want to get sued, and they're about to get sued.
Yeah, there's that too, and they rightfully should be sued because they aren't doing anything except throwing people off who are conservative or libertarian or just...
There is nothing in their terms of service that has ever said you are not allowed to differ from neoliberalism, otherwise you'll be thrown off. But that's what they've been doing.
Yeah.
For years now.
Mm-hmm. Twitter as well. And then, God forbid, Twitch throwing people off for stupid shit too. Twitter's been doing the same thing and for a while too, and Twitch bans people for stupid shit as well. Bro?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't just call their bans stupid. I would say their bans are directly and specifically intended to intimidate and shun people who disagree.
And speaking of bans, I will...
Now, I've seen legitimately stupid ones that involve, one word that I guess got flagged and therefore the whole comment got taken down. That would be classified as stupid. But when someone actually posts something or says something that is a valid difference of opinion from someone who is, like, say, on the left, that's just censorship. And they love that.
Speaking of censorship, I got something for YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and all these texts to censor here. A hashtag that I want to see if I can start. And it's centered around heel versus babyface, because we all know that he got permanently banned for basically nothing.
Yeah. Well, that would be classified as one of the stupid bans.
Yeah. Well, the stupidest, because he was quoting a TV series.
But yeah, the Facebook ban of Donald Trump, though, was censorship, pure and simple.
But with that being said, here's the hashtag I want you guys to not only type in this comment, but go over on Twitter and start using that too. And that's justice for heel versus babyface.
But why should he even like Twitter?
Well,
honestly.
Well, he shouldn't. But he shouldn't have been banned for what he said either.
It's like, I was in that crowd of people that were beating on me and saying horrible things, and then they threw me out of the crowd. I went back in that crowd. It's like, why?
Look, I know that Az doesn't want to be back on there, except for, from my understanding, he's gonna have another account attached to another YouTube channel that he's starting. So he's technically gonna be on there anyway.
Yeah, I know it's for, like, popularity purposes or whatever, but
Yeah. Which, that's the
still.
only reason that I use it, is to try to grow this channel and the gaming channel, and, well, actually the gaming channels, I should say. But it is what it is. Because I don't have a personal one myself. Where you find me on Twitter is the same name as the gaming channel on YouTube and Twitch, and it's also my gamer tag as well. Yeah, that's connected to me professionally as far as all of this, what you're looking at here, goes. I don't have a personal Twitter as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I only do it for business purposes only, so. Does that mean that I don't share just whatever I'm watching on there? No, I also do that too. But it's not like I go out of my way to go, hey, I'm buying shoes. Here's a picture of it. I don't fucking do that shit on Twitter. Because it's fucking stupid. If I'm buying a nice pair of shoes, I'll send the picture to my mom and my brother. Or in the case of when I bought this Arizona Diamondbacks hat, I just texted the picture to them directly. Fuck everybody else. But with that being said, speaking of being fake woke, one of the devs quit Insomniac Games, the maker of Ratchet & Clank, for the design of the female lead in the most recent game, Rift Apart, citing his reason, the character was too feminine, as in her hips were too feminine. Okay, great. So now, women can't have breasts or asses or hips now. They're getting very close to the vagina at this point. And that's probably next. Oh wait. They've already been attacking that for years. Never mind.
Yeah, that has got to be the most legitimately anti-feminist thing anyone has ever done. But it's funny because it's coming from the same people who say they are.
Yeah, which means that they are literally acting like fascists from World War II, which means you might as well go full tilt and really show your face and...
Bro, everyone from that era at least acknowledged the concept that women have a certain essence.
True.
Whereas these people are up there like, no, women should basically be like not women. And that's somehow totally what we should work towards, is women not even being women.
So women not existing. So basically it's 1 degree below, I feel, throwing women into camps.
Well,
effectively.
The point I was trying to make here, though, is that it's about the actual concept of what women are supposed to appear to be, or the perception of women is supposed to be.
Here's the thing, though. Straight men like the way women look. Straight women like the way straight women look too. God forbid that they exist, which, spoiler warning, they fucking do.
Yeah, none of this has anything to do with reality. In fact, it has to do with combating reality, because reality is, the real problem there.
Yeah, because reality is apparently divisive. No, actually, reality is just reality.
No, reality is painful for a certain percentage of the people here.
Well, first of all, if you really want to get into the tax, if you will, a hardcore wrestling reference, if you really want to fall on the tax here, which we're going to do now, reality is painful for fucking everyone. It's unbiased. It's not fair.
No. But some of us are willing to accept certain things.
Exactly.
They aren't.
Because we can't control everything that happens. It's going to
But
happen anyway.
take it up with nature or whatever mechanism you believe has given women these features and attack that then.
Attack
But
God.
leave the actual concept that they even have these features. Leave it alone.
So attack God, but they've already been doing that for years.
No, I'm just saying. Maybe at that point they'll realize that they can't change it. They can make people think things that aren't true. It's classic lie stuff.
Yeah.
But they cannot change reality.
Yeah. So
Lying doesn't change reality. They need to learn that. Maybe the
Yeah.
hard way, even.
yeah. So suffice to say, I'm gonna end this part before we move on to getting back to the Olympics here. But uh, in a personal aspect and publicly on here on social media, YouTube, and every platform you can find me on, let it be known this: that Drudat Entertainment, Drudat Games, overall supports females regardless of if you have breasts, if you don't. If you are a biological female, you deserve the respect that that comes with, and the left is refusing to do that. I stand with women. I stand for their rights to exist as biological fucking females, you motherfuckers. Anything to add, Nord, before we get back to the Olympics?
All I would add to that is men and women are not a social construct. They are a biological result of nature making decisions.
And speaking of nature, in that case, you need a biological male and a biological female to keep the planet going with life, with other humans, i.e., reproduction.
Now,
A man that becomes a woman cannot give birth, despite what major news outlets, what the government will want you to think, because they don't have ovaries.
sure, again, my point about nature.
Simple biology, people. Stop pretending that we didn't take biology class in high school, because we did. I did. And I
Yeah, they
passed,
should stop
motherfuckers.
pretending it isn't a science. They should stop pretending it isn't a science. They should remember
Yeah.
it's a science and it's not a social construct.
Yeah,
Science is, by its own definition, not a social construct.
indeed. It's not biased, it just is. Like the Force, as opposed.
It's an attempt to find what is true
Yeah,
and as physically true as possible.
yeah. It's the most neutral thing. It's one of the most neutral things that this world has.
Well, it should be one of the things that's held sacred, if anything is.
Kind of like the weather. It's
What is
neutral.
physically-
It's not biased. It just is.
What is physically true should be held sacred.
Yeah. And
they absolutely are just spending all day long taking a sledgehammer to that whole category
Yeah.
of what's physically true.
Speaking of taking a sledgehammer to ratings, their own ratings. Actually, no, I did say that. Okay, good. Back to the I got lost like Biden for a second there. Speaking of taking a sledgehammer to your own TV ratings, if you will, the 2020/2021 Summer Games is getting the lowest TV ratings they have ever seen since before 1988.
Yep.
As they say, get woke, go broke. I was watching the opening ceremony. There was a guy, white guy, mind you, speaking, mask on and everything. And if you want to play a drinking game that will quickly end your life, anytime he says the buzzwords of inclusion and what was the other one?
I forgot.
Yeah, because we talked about this off camera yesterday, I believe.
Yeah.
And solidarity.
Oh yeah, that. Oh yeah, that one.
If you want to play a drinking game that will quickly kill you, anytime he says one of those two words, take a drink. A few minutes in, you will be drunk off your ass. A minute later, you will be passed out, drunk, and then a minute later, you will have to call an ambulance. And then after that, you'll be dead. And that's all within the first 10 minutes of his speech.
That's quite over the top, honestly.
Yeah.
Even among the woke people. It's like
it was hard to watch.
Yeah.
To the point where they were showing the Olympic athletes from all the different countries during his speech, just taking photos and not even listening to him.
Yep.
I felt the exact same way. I was going to turn it off, but I'm like, I got to talk about this on YouTube, so I got to keep watching, so.
Yeah.
But the speaker representing Japan before him, I actually enjoyed her speech about the Olympics and whatnot. That was actually entertaining to try to follow the words on the screen, because I didn't understand a damn thing she was saying.
Some of the national teams across the world have not lost the plot of what the Olympics is supposed to be about.
Yeah, like Japan.
Yeah,
like
Japan.
The only problem is that this woke, a divisive version of the Olympics is on their fucking soil right now. That's the only problem for them.
Yeah.
Is that they're going to be remembered for hosting the woke Olympics. Who's going to get a gold medal for being the most woke? At this
well,
point.
Thankfully, they haven't actually created that category yet.
Well, the whole Olympics is basically that at this point.
But the way they operate, you'd think they would just move to having that be the only award ceremony.
Anyway.
Sports doesn't matter. This is about woke politics, everyone.
Speaking of woke shit, Costa Rican gymnast violates IOC's protesting rule by kneeling for BLM during her routine on the floor. And the young lady's name, I don't even care if I'm saying this right. Luciana Alvarado.
Yeah.
I don't even care if I'm pronouncing that right, because go fuck yourself, bitch.
I really don't understand what the point is of all these athletes that have gone to the level of struggling and fighting and putting their bodies through hell to be on this team, only to turn around and spend the whole of the pinnacle of their career shitting on the country they're supposed to represent.
And then actual patriots shitting on them for getting shit on. Expect shit back when you shit on us, people.
Yeah, literally no one told you that you had to say anything or do anything on the podium or in your performance, except win.
And also to add to the
which they're not doing anyway. Our team is getting made a joke out of by other teams right now.
Good, because we deserve it.
I mean, there's got to be some kind of ultimate low going on here.
Yeah,
some all-time low going on here.
Speaking of lows,
yeah.
Evidently this gymnast from Costa Rica, Luciana, has a sister who's also in the Olympics as well, And as an article that Black and White Sports went over just a few hours ago on their channel, which I checked out, evidently her sister also has the same part of her routine as well. Great.
Yeah.
So there's going to be more than just her doing that. IOC, do your fucking job, you pieces of shit. These people are violating your own fucking rule that you fucking put in place. If you don't punish them as you say you're going to, you are fucking dead as an organization. No one's gonna believe a damn thing you fucking say anymore.
Well, again, I had already said that it was a little game for them to begin with. The only reason they even put forward any kind of idea that they were going to be stiff against wokeism is in order to appease the Japanese.
Yeah, but if they don't do this, then I'm willing to bet that the government in Japan is going to say something about, hey, this is going on in our country. You said you would punish these people, but you're not. And I want to hear that if the IOC doesn't punish people like this that are protesting and breaking the fucking rules that the IOC put in place, that Japan will deport them and won't let them finish the games if the IOC doesn't do anything. I want to hear that then. And if Japan does that, then they will gain more respect for me. But they already had a lot of respect in the first place for me. In the case of Japan.
All of the organizers have signed contracts with the national government of Japan and with the other teams.
Yeah.
And this whole Olympics contract is that they're supposed to be able to tolerate each other. Now, the fact that the American team, for instance, is being intolerable as far as we're concerned,
and that's coming from Americans.
As the Japanese public is concerned, is something that the IOC's mission statement essentially dictates they're supposed to be tolerant of. So they could do all that stuff. They could say any athlete that has displayed anything that is a cross or an affront to Japanese public opinion, we should get them removed or thrown out of the country or whatever. They could do that, but they're going to get sued by the IOC at that point.
Here's the thing, though. The IOC is on Japanese soil with this event, which means that in theory the IOC is supposed to be listening to the host country's government, first of all.
Well, it's a two-way street.
Yeah, it's a two-way street, and right now it seems like it's one way. Japan is trying to be a gracious host city, and the IOC is taking advantage of left, right, center, and inside and out. Eventually, Japan is going to have to stand up and say enough.
The IOC's mission statement has, for a long time now, been one attempting to hold this event in peace and in, good faith,
Well, they're failing miserably with the TV ratings and all the woke shit.
Yeah. Well, again, that's because of the athletes.
Yeah, well, and the fact that it seems like the IOC is not going to actually uphold their own fucking rules that they set.
Yeah, again, they're not. But again, that's because they never really meant it to begin with.
Yeah.
It's like if somebody's a thief and you caught them and they've done it 100 times and you caught them once, but you didn't really punish them when you caught them and you said, but don't do it again, and then they do it again and you don't punish them again, they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So they've never drawn a line. They were only trying to look like they were drawing a line.
So this is my prediction for the rest of the Olympics at this point before we move on to our final topic here. considering that now we have protesting during competition now, we're all but guaranteed to see protesting on the fucking podium now.
Yeah, get ready for the medal ceremonies. They're going to be sacrilegious and sanctimonious and every other S word.
And but here's the thing. I was expecting like an American to fucking do this. No, it's someone from fucking Costa Rica.
Well, you see, Costa Rica is an American protectorate.
well, that's obvious at this point.
So what I have to say about it is like
But
the wokeism isn't just an American thing.
yeah, but this Costa Rican gymnast is also 18 years old, easily impressionable, and also as
They
she,
all are.
but also but
Do you know the average age of the athletes at the Olympics? They're not old.
I know that, but still. In the very article that that Black and White Sports read earlier, she was quoted with saying that she did it to unite people and not divide them, to to show support for for the actual things that Black Lives Matter actually stands against, which is actual unity of races.
Well, yeah, their movement doesn't say anything about unity of races. That isn't their goal at all.
So therefore, this girl actually has been tricked into thinking that BLM is actually standing against racism. No, it's actually promoting racism.
Well, it definitely is exacerbating existing racism.
Or
it doesn't help anything.
Yeah. So all you're doing is unknowingly, young lady. What's your name again? Luciana, the gymnast from Costa Rica. All you're doing is actually showing your solidarity for actual fucking racism in America. Just so that you're aware of that. Even though you think you're showing solidarity for standing against racism and uniting people, that's not what you're doing when you're supporting Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry. You're supporting a terrorist organization.
The point I would make here is that it goes with pretty much every element of wokeism, that it seeks one thing according to its own opinion of itself, but its actions and its consequences are usually and often the opposite.
Yeah. And
I mean, what does it matter if the whole anti this or anti that movement ends up causing more of it? What's the point of it then?
Again, I sense a plot to destroy the United States.
It's like trying to pull your pants up and all you did was tear them off.
Speaking of tearing shit up, that's not a good segue for this actual thing, but that's what I'm going with either way. Woke states here in the U.S. are banning shipments of gaming PCs.
Yeah.
So you can buy on the internet various like pre-constructed gaming PCs, which is not news to everybody, right?
Yeah, it's not news to anyone.
But what is news is that on a number of them on the listing on one site is that these are the states that if you are from, the order for said PC will automatically be canceled because the said PCs are not allowed in those states due to the rules for energy saving in those states. And the states are as follows: California, Colorado, Hawaii, Oregon, the state I was born in, Vermont, and Washington.
Yep.
Nord?
Yeah, it's just one more reason, and one more way that they've lost the plot, you know.
How in the flying
Because
fuck?
there's 1,000 ways that these same states are engaging in horrendous environmental damage
But
while they pay attention to things like plastic straws.
but yet the quartering went into an article trying to figure out what the rules are for some of these states for energy saving. And one line in one of them was these these devices are not banned. Gaming consoles, smartphones, tablets, and high-end computer servers and computers. Well, somebody's fucking going back and forth here because I'm pretty sure that gaming PCs count as computers, right?
Yeah, they do.
So what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, a little bit of trickery.
Somebody's going back and forth. They're saying computers are not banned, but yet they're blocking shipments of gaming PCs in these various states that I said earlier. And yet, I don't know what state it was, but in one of these states, it stated, that computers are one of the things that are not banned because of the energy saving rules that they have. Well, if it's not banned, then why are you blocking the shipments to the state of a gaming PC for people?
Yeah, seems kind of odd, right?
There's something more going on here than we actually know.
Yeah, well,
And I don't know what the fuck it could be, and I'm not going to make a prediction either. Because I don't give a fuck anymore, because at this point, at the age that I'm at, one song comes into my head and one line from it, chasing after this world makes me tired.
yeah.
Which I think will probably be the theme song for this episode on the Breaking Rocks playlist on Spotify. That song from Newsboys. Trying, I'm trying. I'm trying to. I'm trying to remember the name. Oh yeah, it's called "Live with Abandon." So.
Yeah.
So that's the theme for this episode then on the Spotify playlist of Breaking Rocks. So I'm gonna be adding that right after we get done filming this. So with that being said, let's close this thing out because I got nothing else. Do you have anything that you saw that you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, I've seen a lot, but
Anything that jumps out?
in the last week, it really has been dominated by the Olympics.
Yeah.
So I would just finish with saying that I really wish that the American team would get serious.
Which
And
I don't think is
say,
going to happen.
on their own, say to the athletes, look, you can have whatever political bend you want, but you need to remember why you're here. You are not here to self-promote. You are not here to espouse political views. If you want to do that, run for office.
I would say this: you're not
But
here.
if you want to actually win sports, win a sporting event, you have to focus on that. Seems like your remote cut off again, bro.
Yeah. As I was trying to say, at one point there, then I saw that the light was off.
Yeah.
I would even say this: you're here to play sports. You're not here to show support for a terrorist organization back home like BLM, or
Yeah, it's again,
or
all of it
or
just needs to go away from sports.
BLM or
Because
any.
sports are supposed to be about sports.
Yeah.
It's not some tool.
Yeah.
And the fact that they use it that way is so insidious.
Yeah. Or to so
Like, why is it that their point of view can get no traction in the actual sphere of politics, yet they think it can get traction in the sphere of sports? And if it has all the traction it needs in politics, why bother putting it in sports?
all you're doing by putting it
You
in,
know?
when it's starting in the knitting community, that was very small. No one gave a shit. Then it migrated to
Well,
comics.
it's
More
pretty damning that it happened in the knitting community.
anyway.
If
Then
it can
it
happen to the knitting community, it can happen to anything.
then it went to comic books, and people started taking notice like Ethan Van Sciver, and then it went to movies, and then games, and then that's
Well,
when.
I would say that it started in films, but
But
that's a whole nother vein of history.
well, if you ask Carrie Smith, it started in the knitting community.
No, I know Carrie Smith's story, but bro, that was like the late 20 teens.
Yeah.
This mentality is 80 years old at least.
Anyway, ultimately, what I'm trying to get at is once it got to like superheroes and video games, then the nerds started getting outraged like us.
Uh-huh.
But also, we're also sports fans, or at least we used to be, in the case of Nord and I as well. And once you get into
Yeah, no, I
sports,
really would be a fan of a lot of sports if it weren't for the way they are.
and once you infiltrate sports, then you get all the normal people to notice, hey, what the fuck is going on here?
I mean, every single one of these people learned the
Yeah.
lesson that you should never support something you don't believe in.
Yeah.
Okay, they all learned that lesson.
Well, some of
The
them
problem
are.
is
Most of them
the
aren't.
problem is they've been taught to not believe in good things.
Yeah.
They've been taught that all the good things in life and all the good people in the world are all actually evil, and everything should be opposed and dismantled and destroyed.
Yeah.
That's what they've been taught. And that's how they live, and that's how they play, and that's how they breathe every moment of their day.
Yeah.
That if they aren't fighting what they define as the bad people, then they aren't doing anything. That's their mentality. That sports is secondary to their political ends.
When it turns out, when they say they're fighting the bad people, what they really should be doing is punching a mirror in their bathroom.
Well,
just saying.
Having a revelation would be helpful. You know.
Because if they want to fight the bad people, they need to be in a bathroom like in Liar Liar, just punching the shit out of themselves.
The great point that has been pointed out in philosophy several times is that if a person is bothered by something, usually it's within themselves.
Yeah.
And that doesn't get solved with outward action. That gets solved with inward action.
Mm-hmm. Something that these fucking weirdos are not doing.
And they also fall right into the pit of hypocrisy. As soon as they launch forward into wokeism, they fall right into the pit of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
That goes for environmentalists. That goes for the woke crowd. That goes for all of it.
Indeed.
All extremism.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be extremist in anything without being a hypocrite.
Yeah, so.
It's just sad that so many hypocrites have such a huge following and influence, and no one sees it. Except for, I guess, a small group of others. But they are absolutely hypocrites, and they absolutely should not be taken seriously. They don't even take themselves seriously.
Yeah.
Who is going to work for years to be an athlete and train and sweat and fight and lose repeatedly just to get to the pinnacle of that and say hashtag BLM? Who's going to do that? Who's taking themselves seriously?
Yeah.
They're not serious. That's all I can say about it.
I got a question for
And
you.
people who do take them seriously need to stop.
Yeah. The last episode of the gaming podcast on the other channel, we talked about our favorite memories as gamers, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so episode 28 is indeed the next one then. So
Okay.
so on Wednesday we'll be filming episode 28 of the DDG podcast. That's the Drew Dat Games podcast on the gaming channel, guys. And on that episode, we will be going over EA Play from July 22nd and anything meaningful that was shown or announced at it, as well as other headlines that might come up between now and then, which I'm expecting the Games with Gold games and PlayStation Plus to potentially be announced by the time we get to filming that on Wednesday for the month of August. So there should be quite a bit to talk about by then, hopefully. But as it currently stands, it's currently slated to be the review show for the EA Play from July 22nd, which it wound up getting a D-. Was rather boring and not really meaningful in any conceivable way other than Dead Space was announced. That was really the only thing.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, what are you going to be up to after this?
Oh, well, I'm working on the Elsewhere event on ESO.
Yeah. I'm going to get my laundry out of the dryer and then make something to eat. And then I'll see where things are at from there.
Uh-huh.
So, with that being said, since it seems like there's nothing else.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums it all up.
Yeah. With that being said, everyone, thank you for checking out this episode of Breaking Rocks. We will see you Wednesday over on Drew Dat Games here on YouTube, on that channel for the Drew Dat Games podcast, to talk about, like I just said earlier, EA Play from July 22nd. Hopefully some Games with Gold and PlayStation Plus games for the subscribers to those services for the month of August, and anything else that might come up gaming related.
Yep.
Yes, I do know that we did mention a couple of gaming items here from the gaming industry, but here's the thing. Breaking Rocks is here to call out woke culture and cancel culture, regardless of the industry at this point. If you want us just talking about movies and stuff, we do intend to do that on the DDE podcast, which we will be doing at some point, and that being the Drew Dat Entertainment podcast. That being to talk about music, movies, and TV shows. And sports maybe even too, because that also counts as entertainment, I believe at least. But until sports actually gets their head out of their ass and isn't woke anymore, we're probably not going to be talking about sports all that much on there.
Yeah.
The only thing we're going to try to be talking about on the entertainment podcast is like stuff that isn't woke that we're watching, or stuff that we like that we're watching or we're listening to. So with that being said, stay tuned for that. I don't know when we're going to be doing that, but just stay tuned to this channel for the DDE podcast at some point in the future. That being said, we'll see you guys on Drew Dat Games on Wednesday for the gaming podcast. Later.
Later.
Delayed reaction from Nord again.